All right, guys, welcome back to Noun Review. This is part two, and I'm just going to pick up right where we left off. The first thing we got to do is figure out what declension a noun belongs to, what family it belongs to. For those of you who were in my Latin 1 class last year, as I said before, we're switching to a new textbook that teaches things in a little different order. And we're just going to have to fill in the gaps as we go. So one of those things is how the vocabulary is presented. In the past, and this may be true for other people as well who've taken Latin in Forsyth County, you've been given vocab in a different way than the official way. From now on, and this textbook mimics more what you'd see in like a legit Latin dictionary or what you see when you look up something online, like in Whitaker's Words. When you're given a word, you will be given what are called the two principal parts, the first principal part and the second principal part. First principal part will be the nominative singular form of the noun. In this case, agricola, gladius, imperator. These are the nominative forms of these nouns. The second principal part, agricolae, gladii, and imperatoris, these are the genitive form, that possessive form we talked about at the end of part 1. Using these two parts, you can figure out what declension a noun is. Now, it may seem as simple as as simple as Agricola ends with an A, so it's first declension, or Gladius ends with a US, so it's second declension. And while that is true, it's not always true. For example, here with imperator, sometimes we have seen some second declension nouns that end with the letter R. But in this case, this is a third declension noun. So you can't totally rely on this nominative singular form to tell you what declension the noun is. That is one reason that you are given the second principal part, the genitive, because AE will always be the genitive form of the first, I will always be the genitive form of the second, and imperatoris IS will always be the genitive ending for the third declension. So let's look at how you figure this out. So we're going to start with agricola, agricolae. It's a masculine noun, and it means farmer. So let's go on here. So looking at these two, agricola, agricolae, I'm going to look at my declension chart, which as I said earlier, is linked in this presentation on an earlier slide. I'll also have a link to it on It's Learning. I'm going to look at the first two boxes. You'll actually notice that the there's red lines around these boxes, and this is why. These are the two endings that you will see if a noun is first declension. And really, you don't even have to worry about the nominative. You just look at the AE, and that's going to tell you, AE, it means it's as the second principal part is its genitive form. That means it'll be the first declension. So you'll see here, there they are. So I can deduce that this is first declension based off these endings, and more importantly, this one. So let's go back. Gladius, gladii. You'll notice the endings US and I, right? Go back here, US, I, and more importantly, this I right here in the second principal part, that's what tells you it's second declension. Imperator, imperatoris, you'll notice the IS here, which, like I said, sometimes the nominative of the second can be R, like in the word puer, for boy. So the way that you know this is third declension is not by looking over here, but looking over here at the IS. So let's compare this to the third declension chart. Boom. Rex. And remember, this is really important for the third declension because the nominative singular of the third declension can end with anything. And oftentimes it'll look a good bit different than the rest of the forms of the cases. Like in this case here, Rex, and then Regis, Regi, Regum. That X turns into a G. But that IS is there, tells us it's third declension. So, boom. Third declension. So that's how you can figure out what declension it is. Now we're going to figure out how you break this noun down and then add on all the appropriate endings. This is what we're going to call declining a noun. So generally 4 steps, and we're about to walk through them. Step 1 to declining a noun. First off, you kind of make yourself a chart, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative in that order. Neutered goats don't act aggressively is one way you can remember that order. So you're going to write down the nominative and genitive singular forms, the first two principal parts, like right here, because that's what's given to you. And so in the first two boxes for the nominative and genitive singular, you can just copy them. Then step 2 is to find the stem of the noun. The stem is the beginning part of a noun onto which all the other case endings besides the genitive and nominative singular will be added onto. The letters, so the way you form a stem is you look at the genitive form of the verb or noun, the second principal part. So in this case, agricolae or gladii or imperatoris. And then you just remove that genitive ending, and what you're left with is the stem. So in this case, for agricola, agricolae, I'm going to take agricolae and remove the AE, and I'll be left with agricole. And all the other endings for all the other cases, singular and plural, will be added onto agricole. Gladius, gladii, I'm going to remove that one I right there. Then I just have gladi, and gladi with one I will be my stem because I'm just removing this genitive ending, which is an I. And then imperator, imperatoris, is is the genitive ending. So I remove this is here and I'm left with imperator, and that is going to be my stem. Then step 3 is copy the stem down and for all the remaining case forms: dative, accusative, ablative, singular, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, plural. Okay. And then you add the remaining endings onto the stem of the noun in all those different cases. So let's look at what that looks like with the word nauta. So nauta, nautai, it's a masculine noun and it means sailor. So here's my chart here: singular, plural, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. I even added the vocative here. We're not going to worry about it too much. I'll include it anyway. Oh, good Lord. Sorry, I accidentally rolled my mouse and just destroyed everything. Okay, so step 1, write down the nominative and genitive because that's what's given to you right here. Nominative singular, genitive singular, first and second principal part. Then step 2 is to find the stem. So I'm going to identify the genitive ending. That's what I'm going to remove. I'm going to write it down here. That's my stem. Then I'm going to copy the stem into every other box. And then onto that stem, all the other endings are going to go onto. So I'm going to go back and consult my declension chart where I see that the endings are I, I, arum, is, I. And I'm going to add those on. Boom. Notice the long mark on this A here. Typically in quizzes and stuff, because it's hard, it may be hard depending on your device to get to a long A. You can just show this as an A followed by an asterisk. The ablative singular of the first declension is really the only time I'm going to particularly care about the long mark for now because it changes the meaning of the word. So either way, that's basically how you break a noun down and decline it. So if that was confusing, go back and rewatch those steps again, try and review it. And I have 2 opportunities here for you to practice. Oh, really 1 opportunity to practice and then 1 opportunity to demonstrate what you've learned. So to decline a noun, declining noun practice. This is basically a copy of this noun quiz, but it is ungraded and it allows you to take it unlimited amount of times. When you feel comfortable with that material, then you're going to come down to this declining a noun quiz, not practice. It is graded and you have 1 attempt. If you haven't joined my Google Classroom already, classroom.google.com, enter that join code right there, and that should get you where you need to go. There's one last thing that I'll be updating in this presentation, and that is going to be called the summary statement. That is going to be the other graded assignment this week. And I'll show you where to find it and explain it right now because we got a couple minutes. Okay, so I'm leaving here. I'm going to go back over to It's Learning. Like I said, everything we have is going to be down here. I'm going to do my best to try and keep the links to a minimum so they don't get all jumbled up. Here's our master presentation, and you'll see this link down here that says Review Assignments on Google Classroom. So once you've joined my Google Classroom, You can follow this link right here. Well, maybe I should fix it first. Let's do that. One moment. Goodness. Copy the link. Very professional. Okay. All right. Now it'll work. Follow this link here. It's going to take you to the class, and it's going to take you to what is called my Unit 0 page, which for whatever reason you are unable to see the top. And this has all the assignments for our Unit 0, our review and introduction stuff. So the summary statement is right here. You'll also see the graded declension noun quiz as well as the practice, the ungraded one. You'll also see down below that the first review quiz from earlier in the week that you took before you watched this video. I also have a link to the pre-assessment in here. See, 21 of y'all still have not submitted that. Please get that to me so I can give you some feedback. All right. So let's talk about the summary statement because everything else has already been touched on. So the summary statement is something we're going to be doing after each basically topic we cover this year. It's just a basic check-in. All I'm asking you to do is come here. You're going to click on this link. For the Google form, this is what your Google form looks like. You're going to put in your first and last name. You're going to rate for me your understanding from 1, meaning I have no idea what's going on, to number 5, I am super comfortable with this material. If you're feeling, I'm all right, then I would say you're around a 3. And if you feel more unsure than sure, then I would go with a 2. 4 is like, I'm okay. I'm not super comfortable. I don't feel like I could totally explain this to other people, even though you probably could. And then lastly, in your own words, and this is a long, in a paragraph or so, in your own words, try and summarize the topics that we have learned. What have you learned about nouns, or what have we reviewed about nouns? Main ideas like what's a declension? What are cases? How do we tell? How do we form nouns with all their case endings properly? Principal parts, things like that. Just in your own words, try and give me the most complete summary of what we're learning now. And also, if there are specific things you don't know or questions you have, this is also a great place to put it. Submission of this with a thoughtful response will be graded, and you will get credit for it. Yeah. Now, if you just come in here and you write and you don't really give me anything in terms of what you learned, then I will consider that insufficient evidence of learning, and I will return it to you until you can give me a more thoughtful response. If you find that writing is particularly challenging for you to express your thoughts and you'd rather submit to me a video or something, please send me a message. I can accommodate you. We can work this out. Yeah. And when you've submitted this and you have practiced the declensions, and you've practiced the declensions and all of that, and submitted the quiz with your 1 attempt, those are your grades for week 1. Like I say, because of the challenges I've had on my end in posting this stuff on time, you have an extra week. You have until the end of Friday, August 20th, to get these things done before we start talking about late stuff. So that's all I got. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. And hopefully I am not this far behind ever again. But those of you who know me, things happen. So, walete.